change? Do we want it to be somewhere else? Do we want to move to buildings to see other buildings? So think about that. We've been meeting here, and that's probably because we, not being familiar with what areas there are that where we could meet, this is where we started. But we do know that wherever we would like to meet, we have to make sure that that space is available. So we probably can't make a final determination tonight as to what that is, but we'll get that out to everybody.
Can I just add a little bit to that? Can everyone hear me okay?
Here.
Yes, no, okay.
No.
Well, just, Steve and I were talking about that, have talked about it several times. There should be a genuine curiosity to see the buildings if you've not. You've got all this data that, you know, it's a bunch of pictures and numbers and this sort of thing. But if you see it firsthand, it kind of sinks in. And I think it also lends a little more credibility to what we're all doing together, right? If you're actually if you've been in this space to experience it. So I guess I'd highly encourage, we should move these around building to building.
Great, thanks. And we'll give you an opportunity to talk about that a little bit later. So tonight we are going to spend some time reviewing the responses that you gave us at the October 11th meeting. And on the table, every table has a copy of every response that we got. Unfiltered, these are just the responses we got because we want to be true to recording what we heard and what you said. And we're going to use the information that we gather to hopefully help filter and focus and move forward. So very broad, but we want to make sure we don't miss anything. We want to answer any questions that you have from that meeting. We want to know, what else do you need to know? What other information do you need to help process? We're presenting information that we have. We realize there's probably a lot of unanswered questions. We're going to ask you to brainstorm a little bit about that. We're going to do an exercise where you will be able to take all of those responses we heard from last time and individually give us some prioritization for that. So we'll see what your responses are to that. And we're also going to use our clickers, which will allow you to respond anonymously to some questions that we're going to ask you. And you'll see the responses as they come up on the screen. So we'll be gathering a lot today, but that's all going to feed into next steps where we're going to take that information. That'll help us determine where do we want to go from here. So we appreciate the time you're going to spend with us and the information you provide and all your input as we move forward. So I'm going to turn it over to Tim.
And the only other thing I might add is the fact that I think in speaking with some of you, that as I'm getting to know you, I don't know if I need this or not, but I'll use it. Is there's things that we don't know that you do from historical purposes or from past levies or situations that you've seen in your communities. So in addition, when we get to the point of what else do you need, I guess I would add, what else do you need to tell us that we need to know so that we can weave that in as we try to continue to pick your brains to move toward options. So remember, we used this the first time. You've got to keep in mind, is there a need? You're here, so I'm guessing there might be, but I'm guessing your definition of need could be as many as the people that are sitting here. Is there an urgency? When we come to this point, is it the right plan for the future? Is it the right plan for students? Being the educator here, I think that one sometimes needs to move up, but for where it is, you always need to keep that in mind. And then the big one, is it affordable? And we'll continue to work and eventually pass this information over to finance, so finance can then figure out creative ways that we might be able to support the affordability. And then the last one is, what's the story? How do we communicate? How do we get buy-in? Will the community ultimately support it? what are the issues, the elephants in the room, all the other things that come with that big last piece. So, on your table were everybody's response. And again, I sort of keyed you in that I'm very left-handed and very right-brained. So, I think it's important that everybody understand that we are looking at every comment that you make, not so much as to who said it, because we don't know, but validating the fact that you're spending time coming to see us, and I gotta bet that there are 20 other people in your community that have the same thoughts as what you put down. So that needs to be always in our mind, and we also need to remember, as I told you before, everything is a yes. As we facilitate this, there's not a bad idea, there's not a bad concept, you've got to be able to share it, we've got to be able to talk about it, and these are the things that came up in patterns. 13 had spaces for needed programming and services. Again, it might be different needs, might be different services, but there is that space issue. Safety and security, again, that could be front entrances, that could be classroom doors, that could be, in and out access, sign-ins, traffic, it could be anything, but safety and security was also up higher in the list. Improved HVAC, flexible teaching space, health and improved air quality environments, and technology all had at least 8 hits. And then 6 commented on better parking, at least in some of the building areas, and the whole site circulation piece. On the issues, cost and affordability is the first thing that came to most people's minds, evidently. We're going to find out a little more tonight when we throw you through this first exercise. Neighborhood versus consolidated schools. I know that's there. We need to shake it out, but on a lot of people's minds. Educational issues students need and being future ready. Having your students ready, whatever the career choice is, whatever the further piece once you roll them out of K-12 is on people's minds. Community awareness and education, just demographics. We heard a little bit about the outlying areas, the Bowling Green city area. You've got some different demographics that bring some challenges to your district. And then the whole question of renovation versus rebuild, and the communication and trust, and the voter turnout were all also shown there. So, as you can see, the first slide I showed you was needs. The second slide were issues. So, here's what we'd like to do. We threw on your table 3 sets, or a set for everybody. So if somebody want to grab the green and the red dots and make sure everybody has a set of green dots and a set of red dots. All right, make sure everybody has. I won't go as far as make everybody raise them up and show me that you have those sets. I'll take it that you do. Anybody that doesn't have the red or green dots, though, make sure that we know before we get going. In a minute, we're going to get you up and moving, and I'm going to have 6 tables go to the area that are talking about needs. And we're going to ask you to put 1 dot, and 1 dot only. So you can't cheat and put 3 dots on 1 sheet, okay? Again, I may have done that too if nobody had told me. So 1 dot. So basically, of the 8 or 10 issues and the 8 or 10 needs that are over there, we're going to ask you to put 1 dot on each of 3 of these topics. so that we can start to see if there's any patterns to which ones are the most issue-driven or the most need-driven. Everybody understand what you're doing? The green dot group will go into the cafeteria extension, and you'll see them on large poster paper stuck around on both sides of the room. The other 6 tables will go out into the hallway to your right, and you'll see those on the glass of the trophy cases and on the opposite wall, and you'll place your red dots on those sheets. When we're done, I'll watch and we'll switch. Then we'll come back here, we'll bring the sheets in, and hopefully we can start having some conversations about what did that tell us, if anything. On the red sheet, I will tell you that there is one sheet that if you don't see something you like, or if you think something else is a strong need, we actually stuck a red marker in the fire panel handle. Please just don't pop the door open and cause the thing to come open and somehow get a fire drill going. But you can pull that out and you can write your own issue or need in there, and then just put a dot beside it if we've missed something.
And same thing for the issues on the
green. Okay.
On the right side wall, there's a poster that just says other. And so if you feel that we did not record what you feel is an important issue, write it down, put your dot on it. And so we want to make sure that every option that you feel is important, you can record.
And then we'll bring you back into the tables, because then I'm hoping that we can try to get a little bit of a conversation going about what do you think that really means, or what does that look like. Okay, does everybody understand their task?
Who's going where?
Oh, these 6 tables I'm going to dismiss first. I'm going to send them to the green cafeteria extension area. And this is awful, but if you'll stay in there then until we get done with the red, then we'll switch. It'll make things work. But take your red dots with you too.
Big friends.
Remember, there are no right answers, so you don't have to cheat and ask somebody else where to put the dot. All right, these 6 tables, if you'd like to move out into the hallway to the right, look at the areas again and decide where you want to place your 3 red dots. That would be great. About these 4, see if you're coming up with any, yeah, that makes sense, no, that doesn't make sense, or if we need to hear a little more about what that means, then tell us what that means. If there's a cost affordability piece that is historical for Bowling Green, maybe talk to us a little bit about that. If the educational needs are specific, talk a little bit about that. But take a minute in your group, because again, I'm sorting you each time separately on purpose so that you aren't sitting with all your like folks, so that we can get a better idea of the whole Bowling Green community. So take just a couple minutes and talk about this side, please. About these 4, see if you're coming up with any, yeah, that makes sense, no, that doesn't make sense, or if we need to hear a little more about what that means, then tell us what that means. If there's a cost affordability piece that is historical for Bowling Green, maybe talk to us a little bit about that. If the educational needs are specific, talk a little bit about that. But take a minute in your group, because again, I'm sorting you each time separately on purpose so that you aren't sitting with all your like folks, so that we can get a better idea of the whole Bowling Green community. So take just a couple minutes and talk about this side, please. You saw his needs. So we put 4 sort of 4 came to the top over here, 4 come to the top here, maybe. Flexible teaching space. I might suggest that folds in part of this. Healthy environment. improve air quality, this one might look into this. So talk a little bit about those. Then I'm really interested in hearing this one. We had,
Can you read that to us?
yes, it says keeping small schools versus one large school. Now, this is needs, that was issues. Take a minute and talk about these, and if you agree that these might fold in under these. And then also, if you can delineate keeping small schools versus one large school in relation to needs versus issues. Issues, to me, are, yeah, the consolidation versus keeping your neighborhood schools. But if you put it on this side, is the, and I don't want to be putting things in your mouth, but what comes to mind here is transportation, walking, those kinds of things. But I want to know, what were you thinking and what is here that makes this a need and an issue? Cool. Take a couple more minutes, and then we're going to report out quick because we've still got the famous clickers we want to go through with you that they talked about that for the good of the order and the good of the group would be worth sharing. Yes?
I think for the good of the group, the two comparisons that we did last group on how many existing children we have, to how many children they plan on having in 10 years. In the good of the group, the math is at 64 children more. Which when you look at this graph, makes it look like there's a lot more than that.
Okay.
The math is it's 64.
So can everybody hear him? He's saying from the graphs, one of the things that need to be looked at further is the current enrollment versus future enrollment, and it's a difference of 64 kids by the charts,
And it would be
increasing by 64 kids.
That's your projections, right?
No, that's
Those are
Your
OFC,
15 OFCC stuff.
those would be OFCC projections.
The district did an assessment, they had the sociology department do it, and it went up to by 150 students.
So we don't know what we're going to get.
Right, and that's one of the things we're going to talk about here because we still need that updated projection enrollment piece.
Oh, that's
Yeah, and maybe that's what we get from the district so that we can compare the two.
Well, we're bringing OFCC up, right?
Right, and that's one of the other things we'll jabber about here in just a second, yeah.
And one other thing is this drainage, storm drainage.
Uh-huh.
Now I'm no farm boy.
Okay.
So me and my dog went for a walk on Sunday. And I broke the law, by the way, took my dog on street property. But anyhow, that's not fun.
Okay.
That's Krim.
That's a
Krim,
Is that
okay.
64 per year or?
total.
Well, that would be a trend. And again, that's one of the things we need to talk about in this group, and that's one of the things we do need. Back on the conversation that you had in your tables, is there anything else that just you're dying to share, or you're just going to stick it for future use? Yes?
When we're thinking about costs, we cannot think of just construction costs, because the decision on construction will impact the costs of operating the schools for the next 40 years. Because if you look at it and you decide, well, we can get by with the roof that we have because it's got another 4 years on it, well, then you got to put in your capital budget to replace that roof. Or if you put in a new HVAC system and it's good for 15 years, you're going to have to put in a budget so in 15 years you got enough money to replace that furnace without having to go back to the taxpayers for more money.
Right.
But the other thing is, you've got to look at your operating costs, because depending on what you do from the quality of insulation, windows, all that, that can increase or decrease your utility costs. And if you got 4 boilers to take care of, you got 4 times the amount in maintenance costs that you have.
Yep.
So part of the thing when we finish this out, not only do we have to have, well, this is what we need for construction, but then we need to have a plan that we don't have a situation where the district has so much deferred maintenance, right, off that 2015 report. Based on their numbers, it was $42 million in deferred maintenance and replacement. So,
And that's smart thinking, because whatever option or decision you make, the operating piece has to come with solutions, yeah. And whether it's a capital plan, whether it's a straight operating or whatever. Let's look through this quick, because you guys are already, you're so good, you're already on to some of this already. A reminder, if you didn't get David's invite, Steve reached out this morning when David lined up the OFCC speaker. And so on November 14th, right now it's here, but if that changes, he will get that correction to you and we can send it out also. But a chance to listen to him specifically about Bowling Green, about OFCC, and be able to get clarifications and get some of your questions answered in regard to that. And so instead of us trying to handle that, although we'll keep trying to answer your questions, what a great way to be able to get information strictly from OFCC. The updated enrollment pieces, we've already had some inquiries about that. We need to get that. Part of the OFCC probably update is something that needs to happen too, but we'll try to get that from the district and also use the last projections and see what is the most accurate.
Well, OFCC will not make funds available, unless I'm mistaken, without their
updated enrollment, right?
And all their funds will be based on.
Correct. This one we talked about also, and is there a general, genuine interest in getting to some of the other buildings? And if so, I think I'm getting enough body language that we'll see what we can set up there. So we would like to get our next date set, but we may have to send out something specific about which building it might be in, because we'll have to get clearance and get that planned out. So we'll proceed with that then. The other things that we need to talk about and make sure that we've got is the whole piece of staff input, the community survey, if that is something that might be of interest, curriculum goals for the district and any solution that might take place, and then the whole visioning piece. What do you see for your schools and your students now and into the future? Because when you make updates, you've got to know that the educational pendulum swings. It goes here and then it swings back here, and so you've got to make sure that whatever you do allows you to work flexibly inside that. Yes?
What's the most recent strategic plan for the district? Is that 2012? Have they done anyone since then?
Strategic plan.
And again,
That kind of drives what you're trying to do.
that's probably a great point, but something that we'll have to dig up and bring back to you in the next meeting, because I would be guessing. So let us check. Okay, got a question?
Yeah, one question that came in on a text. Suggested from, I don't need to know who from, but it was kind of funny. I don't know if it was meant to be funny. Suggested from wife. I also would say they need to survey parents. People with young kids and single parents can't go to these meetings, so you can see that by attendance. Tim, I think that's what we're suggesting. At some point, there's a community survey, and then keep in mind, we're trying to keep the information out there with this transparency so people can dig through that and try to follow along, kind of like a meeting behind, but at least they have an opportunity to catch
I
up.
like cutting into front of you all the time. I'm sorry. I'm not good with the camera. I move too much. If you could, we need to get into the clickers, is what I call them. But before we do that, take just a second. These are things we've tried to talk about and tried to make sure that we have in front of you. Talk about and see if are we missing anything. we talked a little bit when we started tonight about what you know that we don't. And if there's something else out there that we need to bring in to have conversations about, we'd like to add it to this list so that we can bring it back to you the next time or after that. Barb?
Initially, when Mr. Conlon spoke to us in the big auditorium, he mentioned that this group might do touring buildings. That buildings that were all brand new, that the community tore buildings down and made one big building, or the ones that have been renovated and added on to. And so we haven't heard a lot about that yet. Is that still in the process? You're trying to think of these tours that we can go on and see these different types of structures?
I'm going to tell you that we don't have anything on the docket right now, but I think that's probably a David question.
Okay.
To see what we can do. What I hear you saying, if people didn't hear it, was that there might be interest in, after we do tours like before the meetings here, we might also make it available to you folks to go see a brand new build or an old building that's been renovated or a building that's been added onto or whatever, so that you can firsthand visually see how that happens. Is that capturing it? Okay.
That's what you initially told us.
Okay, all right, then we'll get with Dave on that one.
Can we get our head of maintenance possibly available for those tours?
That I think is what you were thinking about. They had maintenance to tour the building.
Yeah, we could ask that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's,
There's got to be some questions that only he's going to be able to answer.
Right.
So.
right. Did everybody hear that question? The comment was, I guess it really was, yeah, it was a question. Would it be possible for us to have the head of maintenance for your school district to be at the building tours where we have the next meeting, so that it can be, if questions need asked, he would be the person of authority to be able to do that. Yes?
I think that everybody here could look at all of these things and pretty much would agree with everything, whether we put our 3 dots on whatever. I mean, these are all concerns that all of us have here. I mean, we might have our priorities might be different, but they're all the same concerns. Back before they put this on as an issue to vote on, a bond issue, there was sent a survey to the community that basically broke it down: rebuild, renovate, and consolidate, right? And so my point is that when are we going to get these options so we can discuss these like from a financial perspective and from like the needs that we want to see in our building structures?
I totally agree, and I say, yes, you're going to get them. Remember when I said, when we started, that you have to broaden the scope before you narrow it back down. Because if you don't, someone will say you went right to and you never gave consideration to something else. So hold with us. We'll get there. And actually our last exercise of the evening starts asking some of those questions with the turning point, which might be a great time, Steve, to go ahead and start the turning point. Is there anything else that we've missed that we need to add to this list?
I just got to piggyback up there.
Yes, go ahead.
They dismissed the online surveys and got rid of them, the school district did. And they only went with the paper surveys, so I would like to see the online surveys that were out in that the school district did not recognize.
Put back.
Well, at least just analyze it.
Right.
See what it is.
Okay. Yes. Oh, did you have a question? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there was a group, neighborhood schools,
Okay.
and just sitting here with a couple of current teachers, I would assume they would be one building people. Maybe we should ask the neighborhood school group and the one building people to make a presentation, each make a presentation. You know, why neighborhood schools, why one building?
But before we do that, we probably also need to define what a neighborhood school is. That was our discussion, because even at this table, the neighborhood school to one person meant a small school, but to another person it meant where the school was located. So, and for me, that was an eye-opening, that there were 2 definitions of what a neighborhood school is. And so I think before we even go there, we got to first figure out, what do people even think a neighborhood school is? And I don't know that we can answer that tonight.
Nope.
But we need to be aware that people have different definitions of even what that means.
Yeah, and even more reason why I want to thank you right now for the openness and the flexibility you gave me, because I know I got looked at cross-eyed a couple of times when I handed you a name tag that didn't allow you to sit in the same place every time. But in order to capture what it is we need to capture, you've got to shake it up every time. And I think you're starting to see what we can do, and there is always a method to our madness. But those are great comments. I think that's a real open invitation piece that we might get to at some point. But you're right. I mean, I did redistricting for Hilliard, and you'd be amazed how the neighborhoods all at once decided they were, a subdivision was now attached to the other subdivision because they just couldn't be separated. So you've got to get a definition on a lot of these things, and that's perfect. That's perfect. Yes?
You had talked about the usage square footage in the middle school last time about, and it looked way overbuilt. And that was a number that was going to be clarified just because of the pack and everything else, and I just...
Okay, and I'm turning to Steve on that one because I don't...
And that's, I just wanted to make sure that we had the right numbers on that, because we
Okay.
did a guess of how big the auditorium was and everything else.
Okay, you got that? Okay. All right, yes?
So, we did have the opportunity to chat here, so I'm just speaking for myself, but other information you need, I guess, I mean, communication and trust, having 19 people think that that's, you know, one of their top 3, I think is huge, and I think that then that has a direct impact on voters. You know, and we can find the most perfect plan here, but if we don't have the voters, then...
Well, and what I would share with you is in that process between communication and trust is a story. Historical, current, future. And there has to be a story line and a compelling reason for all the things that we talked about to start with on urgency and need and all those. They all tie together in a great bundle, but that's a perfect comment. All right, last comment, and then we're switching to the last activity.
On the tours of the schools,
Yes.
I think it's very helpful to have people actually work in the schools, like maintenance people and so forth. I would also include the principal, who have his overview, and if any teachers can come, the most valuable information I get is from teachers. That is important, or other staff, or the other staff members.
Maybe some kind of representation.
And then the other thing is, are there state standards that we should be looking at for all those different areas?
Yeah.
And then the other
And I
thing.
would tell you, again, that pendulum, it swings a little, so. Yeah.
And then, you know, we have a university here, and they have content experts, pedagogy experts. And so we should utilize a university that's a couple miles away.
Okay. I'm not going to ask for a raise of hands, but if you represent a certain building after the meeting, if you're willing to out yourself, could you come up and tell one of us so that we would know? Sorry? Yes, that'd be perfect. Thanks, Dan. Just put if you're willing to maybe be a source, if we go to your building, if you would text Dan with your name and what grade or band you represent, that'd be perfect. That's great. Okay, let's go ahead and switch over.
Whoever sent the strategic plan 2015-18.
Awesome.
Whoever sent the link, thank
Yes.
you.
Oh.
I guess I could have texted back.
Okay. Now this is the fun part. You asked Kat, right? Not Kate? Kat. Because, yeah, I remember from the last night. Okay. This is a way for us to get your input on some of the renovation versus rebuild. What are you thinking? What might you support? How might you look at things? It's real simple. On your table, we handed you a clicker. And this clicker is just the slickest thing ever. There also is an app you can put it in your phone, but we'll just do it this way tonight. This is something that we might find that we want to use when we get down to the options too. But it's pretty straightforward. We're going to give you a question, and then you're going to punch in. And the good part is, as soon as everybody punches in, we're going to kick it up and you'll see a graph that shows everybody's combined response. So again, we're trying to elicit some further depth into what you might be thinking as a whole group. Okay, let's do the first one and you'll see what's going on. What is your opinion of the overall condition of Bowling Green High School? Is it A, excellent, B, very good, C, good, D, fair, or E, poor? If you punch one of those buttons, that'd be great. And you'll see the responses starting to come up here in the top corner. Okay. We'll find out what the group thinks. Okay, here we go. I'll get out of the road, thank you. Sorry. I'd rather be in the back anyway.
Okay, so 41% say fair. That was the highest response of the high school. Okay.
What's your opinion of the overall condition of the Bowling Green Middle School? A, excellent, B, very good, C, good, D, fair, E, poor. %47 of you believe it's excellent.
40% good.
40% think it's very good. So that's 87% of this group. Third question, we've got 15 to go through, and then we'll talk. What's your opinion of the overall condition of I wanted to say it right. I apologize, because I heard both ways, so I wanted to make sure it was right. Conneaut Elementary. A, excellent. B, very good. C, good. D, fair. E, poor.
Especially if people
And again, I just heard a question, and I heard a comment. If people haven't been through it, that's a good point. Because what we are doing right now is we are getting your perceptions. And think about this. This is everybody else's perceptions too, because chances are that a lot of the community also has not been in the buildings. So what this is not only telling us is your perceptions today, but it's also cueing us in on where we may need to help educate the community further to better understand things. So there's two parts to the way we can look at this answer. So 53% of this group said poor. Do we have a clicker not working? Okay. Okay, what is your opinion of the overall condition of Crim Elementary? Same responses.
This one doesn't work.
We're getting quicker.
Yep, they got handle. Okay. 46 think it's good. 27% very good.
21% fair.
21 think it's fair. So more in the middle.
Okay.
What's your opinion of the overall condition of Kenwood Elementary? Same process. Steve is very correct. Most people don't go into anything other than the office, the gym, or the outside area. So if you have been to those buildings, you're still giving us input as to what most people might be thinking. 58% think that this particular elementary is poor.
Okay, we're going to shift gears on this question.
Okay. Here you go. Bowling Green High School should be retained and renovated. Do you strongly agree with that? Agree or neutral? Disagree or strongly disagree?
I'm struggling because
the last bond plan had renovation of that side and then add on new stuff. So, and that's what I liked, so it's a half and half. I'll tell you what my vote was. So I haven't voted yet, we haven't hit 52 yet, because I'm struggling with, I'm a half and half.
Again, I would suggest, based on your thought process, is how you should answer this. We're getting a baseline piece of information. More than likely, you're going to get a more detailed question along this line later. Okay, Steve? 33% strongly agree, 28 agree, 19 are neutral, 1 in 5. 11 disagree, and 9 strongly disagree. We will be discussing that one quite a bit more. Bowling Green Middle School should be retained and renovated.
Why is that even on there? It's a brand new building. Yes.
Yeah, we just renovated.
You still need to ask the question. I'm guessing what we get, but we've got to ask the question. That might be why. It might be for something specific, but it's something we might need to delve into more. Does anybody care to share that was strongly disagreeing of that one piece that needs fixed at Bowling Green Middle School?
I disagree with you, renovate.
Yeah, I put disagree for the renovation.
Okay.
Because it's a new building.
Okay. All right. Next one. Kanya. Elementary should be retained and renovated. Discussion pieces for sure. All right, then the next, this is exactly why the conversation needs to get specific. Same with this elementary. Give us your thoughts on this, please. I would suggest that there's lots of specific reasons why, the why to this. So that's showing us that there's lots of different pieces and parts that make people answer in all 5 of those areas. Kenwood? We'll have these put it off and just like we have the tables at the next meeting. Because that's going to give you a lot of conversation and the whys to your arguments. So let's go to the next one, Steve. Bowling Green High School should be completely or partially replaced with a new facility. Probably by now, most of you right-handed, left-brain people are going nuts. Because you want it to be, let's get to that answer. And you can tell, we're not there yet. We're keeping it broad, keeping everything, flipping over every stone like we talked about. Okay. Well, there's probably, what, 2 people that were neutral now. So you have opinion. Bowling Green Middle School, and I know what you're going to tell me. Should be completely or partially replaced in the new facility. Okay, next one. Pontiac Elementary should be completely or partially replaced. I'm saying that one each time so I can practice. Notice the 2 pillars on both ends are the most marked.
Yeah, but you can't really look at it that way. You have to look at the fact that 59% of people agree with the fact that with that, and not that 29% disagree. Because it's
As a facilitator, I would say yes to that. But everybody is probably right now in their mind trying to figure out their reason for how they voted and how it interprets into the bar graph. So I would say yes to that, but I'm also going to share that there's probably other people that are looking at it all different ways. Correct. And we're not asking you where it's located or any of the other pieces yet. We're just trying to get a feel for it. All right, how about this elementary? Partially replaced or a brand new facility? Kenwood Elementary, completely or partially replaced with a new facility? What do you think? Remember the percentages of that one? Look back to,
Which one?
switch that one. I know, I think it was the one before that. Switch to that one. Nope, it wasn't the same number. I thought it was the exact same number, but it wasn't. Okay. All right, baseline data. Again, you guys are bringing it up. We're not talking yet about neighborhood versus consolidated. We're not talking about how much you've been in the building, what you've seen, what you know, but it's your perception. We will use this the next time. Before you can narrow the scope, you've got to understand that we've got to get this out. And then we'll start looking at options. Because you folks have had the history of either being in the district for a long time or have been active in the last campaign. you already may think you know where you want to go. But we've got to look at all the different options and figure out which ones we want to keep pushing forward and which ones might drop off. As we keep trying to look at the pros and cons through all the different eyes that we've got looking at all the different information that we've gathered. All right, now, next meeting. I think it's agreeable that we try to set up a building tour before the next meeting at one of the buildings that we can get clearance to be in.
Can you have the meeting and a tour at the same day?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. What we'll probably try to do is set up the tour maybe half hour, 45 minutes before. And if you get there on time, that's great. If you get there a few minutes late, we may just say they went that way. We're trying to get you, a view of it. I know as an administrator, there's times where I would rather not have everybody meandering through the building free will and looking at places and that kind of thing. So we will try to organize it.
It might be great to have some pictures of what a school day looks like though, because it would be really deceptive to be in the buildings without the students and the staff and the support staff and the parents and the cafeteria workers and the custodians and everything. So that might be something handy to have because it looks really different.
Yeah. Okay, and I guess the big question is, we talked last time, we wanted to get this meeting in so we could sort of get off and get going, but then it was sort of understood that we try to have just one in November and one in December, and then we'll gauge it after the new year from there. So, do you want to throw out a date? So I guess question to you, would the 8th of November work by chance?
Well, it wouldn't be productive to be before the 14th.
That's what I'm saying. If we would have it the 8th, then it would be before the 14th. You're saying, what are you saying? I guess I'm sorry.
I'm saying that's not productive because we all should learn a lot from OFCC on the 14th. So if we have it before then, we're just going to have it black and white.
I think it's a lot to ask though to have 2 meetings in 1 week and then we're running into Thanksgiving. So I think just that week is great to do the 8th.
I like the idea of the meeting beforehand, so some of us that haven't toured a building, I mean, I'm in Kenwood all the time. I'm in the high school, I'm in the middle school, but just when you go to a friend's house to visit versus you go to a friend's house to buy it, you look at different things. And so I think to be able to get one tour in of a school before we start having meetings gives us an idea of what we're looking at and what we're talking about. And then when we start talking about pupil size per classroom and square footage, we have an idea because we went to Kenwood and we saw Mrs. Koppler's classroom and she has 32 students in there and she's only supposed to have 31 and that extra desk and the crowding, or she only has 25 students and she's allowed to have 30, so there's extra space and whatever the circumstance may be. So at least we have one vision of one school district that we can think about as we hear some of the topics, and then we can take that to other meetings and other tours and take that education. My opinion.
I mean, we're open to whatever. We were just throwing out the 8th because we thought maybe if we got a meeting in there, then you follow with OFCC, then we came back in December, we'd be able to start getting the options out, or at least starting to get them identified, so then when we come back in January, we can actually get going. Go, okay. Okay. Yes.
I just have an idea. If you're willing to stick with the Wednesday, like today, on Wednesday the 7th, there is nobody in at Kenwood at this moment scheduled to use the building in the week.
The only problem with doing Wednesdays is you're running into other meetings, like the women voters, Barbara, and I'm supposed to be at that meeting, they meet at that time.
Okay.
So it would be appreciated if you didn't have
So Thursday, the 8th?
Let's do it like 5 days in a row.
I don't think we can program that in quick. That's a great idea, but
No,
I'll have to do that next time.
To oblige everybody, you could kind of just do it different days of the week, every month.
Every time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be the one.
Can we have meetings at the schools, or is that not possible, so that we can tour them and then meet?
Yes, that's what we would like to do. So we would start the tour early and then have our meeting right there. Yeah, that's the idea. We won't continue to use this. Wherever we go, we will follow and have the meeting right there. Do we just want to leave it open and try to contact to see which school?
We might have some backup days, because we may not be able to do the 8th.
Yeah, figure out when you can get in the school's email.
There's enough schools, we ought to be able to get into one of them.
It's not
Whatever.
I know, but it's not the 8th.
We're sitting here in one.
I'm on our staff, we have somebody in the gym.
It looks like, I don't know the page by date, we're checking the calendar,
Okay,
but it looks like that nothing is going on in the evening.
okay.
We'll have to verify, but
Okay.
it looks like it will be open.
They're suggesting possibly the 8th. Is, do we ask them if they
Maybe we just need to check with the building principal.
Can't-
No.
Yeah,
Which building did you say?
Conneaut. Is there a way you could check, we'll check with Dave,
I can, yeah, I can have it tomorrow.
and then we will send it out. If you could sort of pencil in the 8th at Conneaut, the 8th.
7 o'clock.
Well, we would try to start the tours probably, to be fair, at 6
6 to 6:15.
6 to 6:15, and then be able to get the tours done so we could start the meeting at 7 and still be out by 8:30. Yes?
It seems like we have no trouble being here. So could we say Conneaut, if not Conneaut, then the high school tour district?
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good alternative too. So, okay, we'll get this confirmed, but let's pencil in the 8th at Conneaut if we can get clearance. If not, we'll probably just pull it back here. One of the things that you might want to consider that we include in this next meeting is some kinds of questions that might be needed that we could throw to OFCC that you want answered. Yes.
It was mentioned at the last board meeting that there was buildings that are crumbling before our very eyes.
I heard it.
Deteriorating.
I
They're
did.
deteriorating before our
I had
very
heard that,
eyes.
yeah.
I want somebody to show me.
Okay.
Okay, I'm one, show me.
And I guess that's why the tours will be beneficial. Yes.
Whatever the date,
Okay, let's hold it together for a second.
If
Go
I could just
ahead.
say one thing to that, you know, what's passed is passed. We've got a process here that we're trying to give you accurate information and keep it moving forward, and, you know, try not to, you know, if there was some misinformation before, just let it go and let's move it forward.
Yes.
whatever it is, I think it should be a guided observation.
Right, yes.
So there should be criteria that we should be looking for, such as, you know, environmental issues, et cetera, and go right down the list.
Foundation.
Okay.
Right.
We could give some big kind of areas. Yes.
In addition to, I love the facilities director.
Right.
Request.
Well-
I love that idea. What about security as well? I think it seems like security is a priority as well. Could we have a security expert on hand to share their perspective?
Police?
I don't know. I think I'll have to give you one of these. I'll get back to you on that because I don't know if we want to do something here and do all the different areas, or, because I'm guessing you have multiple jurisdictions?
Nope, just one. They're all in the city limits.
Okay. Learn something else. I figured there was a sheriff department in there somewhere.
Not anymore.
Okay.
Also, I think
Right, right. And we can send that. We didn't send this one because it had all of the.
Yeah, we didn't want to send this ahead of time because we didn't really want you to read all the questions ahead of time. And we really didn't have a lot to present this time.
Oh, yeah. The results of?
Yes, that will be sent. What you saw on the screen is what I'll compile that and get that out to everybody.
Yes.
This list?
That list too. Yeah.
And then we'll take that, send you an email. Check your email.
Yeah, the tours are not requirements. This is just trying to get your level of understanding up. If you have kids that have been in that building, my guess is you may already know, but you're welcome to come to the tour. The tours are going to be made available to you, but it's not a requirement that everybody comes. Plus, I got to tell you, in respect to your schedules, you're already giving us 7 to 8:30. So for some of you folks, by the time you get your taxi cab for your kids run around and everything else, you may not have time to work that in. I understand that. So, all right, so we owe you some clarifications, and so we'll try to get those and get those out to you. Is there anything else for the good of the order? Because it's 8:30.
Please leave your clickers just on the table. We'll come and get
Tim,
them.
I do think it's very important to get to see the school. Then ask the same question and see the difference. See the difference.